This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Hanging in there?
Yeah, it last night was a mixture of emotions because Big O, it was a loss, and I thought it was one of their best games of the season.
I know.
But now I'm dealing with another freaking injury concern and Bam Adebayo. And a matter of fact, I was just talking to Anthony.
Tyler?
I'm sorry.
How about Tyler?
Tyler's fine. He just slipped. He just had one of those, the court gets slick and you fall. Now, you never know with the knee when it's wrapped after, but he said it was just a slip. It wasn't a contact injury. Bam's hand is a concern. I mean, I don't know if you saw the replay of the dunk. It was as ferocious as you can see. And I was just talking to Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald. Last year with Omar Yurtseven available, the Heat were able to stay afloat when Bam missed 7 weeks. They don't have that this year. They have Dwayne Dedmon. They have Orlando Robinson. They don't have anything close. Omar Yurtseven was a revelation.
And by the way, you're losing a different Bam now. Okay?
A better Bam.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. This is a different Bam that you're losing. You're losing a real franchise Bam now. You're not losing just a defensive role player facilitator. No. You're losing the anchor now, which that really sucks. And last night, I admire the crap out of Jimmy Butler because he made no excuses.
Right.
When you guys asked him yesterday in the locker room. And in a way, you can't make an excuse. You know why? The prior possession, you missed the bunny in the paint. And so you had the easier shot there, and you didn't make that one. And then you come down, and the referee swallows the whistle. Royce O'Neal clearly bodied his ass. And and by the way, I'm kind of surprised he still didn't make the shot because that's normally a shot that Jimmy can make because he plays through traffic, which is really difficult in the NBA. Yet he's able to thrive in those kind of situations. So I didn't have nearly as much sympathy as I normally would because of the play prior to that. But I still felt bad for him because he should have gone to the line, and they just swallowed the whistle on that.
And I got to tell you, Big O, you and I have spoken about this not only in our Acura Pembroke Pines reports this season, but for years. There was nothing worse than when your team is within one and you settle for the jumper. You can't get to the foul line. You make it harder. It's a hero play. We have both talked about this with Tyler and Jimmy shots. Dwayne Wade for years frustrated. That was the only aspect of Dwayne that frustrated
Kyrie last night.
But I'm just saying, Kyrie settled for the jumper. Dwayne settled for jumpers. So give Jimmy credit. He took a play that had 2 of 3 possible good outcomes. Either he's going to make the shot, he's going to get to the foul line, or he's going to miss. But he increased his odds. I have no issue with that. The bigger issue I have is the offensive rebound on the play before when Royce O'Neal got it and put it back up there. And again, this goes back to the ongoing thing. I agree with Eric Spoelstra. That ball was on the ground, went between legs. It was like a rugby scrum when you're putting the ball back in play. But when your team is undersized, that's where you get in trouble. That's where it hurts. That's where Big O endlessly, ceaselessly, an Acura Pembroke Pines report says this team is too short. It needs another big man. And you can see it right now. And especially if Bam misses time, because Dwayne Dedmon's not an answer this season. And Orlando Robinson is an unathletic, hardworking SOB who has his two-way G League limitations.
Right, exactly. He can only be elevated a certain amount of times, right? Is that what it is? How many does he have left?
He has 20 games he can be on the roster. That'll get you to the trading deadline. But he's a nice player. But he's not an NBA-level starter. He's probably not, God bless you, Orlando Robinson, at this point an NBA-level full-time backup. He's a guy who's learning the game on this level, who went undrafted. Again, we have this problem. You got 4 guys out for at least a month. You have Udonis Haslem on the roster. God bless him. Might help in that rebounding situation, but he doesn't play, and you don't want to pay the luxury tax. So you are giving your coaching staff and your 2 veterans in Jimmy and Kyle a really hard hand to play in the competitive Eastern Conference with so much working against them. Do the Miami Heat bend now? Remember, I might not be the biggest Tristan Thompson fan, but he would help right now. I might not be the biggest DeMarcus Cousins fan, but he would help right now. I'm not sure I'm willing to. You know what? He's a big body. I'm not sure I want to go to Hassan Whiteside, so I'll stop our conversation right here. But what I'm saying is, you need to be a little bit bigger, because I think we'll find out later today. I think Bam's going to miss at least a week, and I think he should between the thigh injury and the hand injury. It's going to be a very tough road to hoe. Tomorrow, the Thunder come in. They score a crap load of points. You're going to have to match that. And then Milwaukee on Thursday and Saturday. You play Milwaukee without Bam, it's like Giannis is going, I could see another 50-burger.
So are you talking about a fill-in player that doesn't affect the cap, or
no such thing?
They actually make a move to add that 15 player that would affect the cap?
Yeah, I'm saying there is no such move, honestly, Big O, that doesn't affect the luxury tax for this reason. Each 10-day contract, which is a great field to be in, pays $100,000 for 10 days' work in the NBA. The NBA daily rate is $10,000. It's a good job if you can get it. Yeah. So once the Heat do 2 10-day contracts, all of their remaining space below the tax is gone. So if they make a move, it's going to be, okay, we're going to have to be a taxpayer. The only other move I can foresee is this, is you trade Dwayne Dedmon to another team just to offload that salary, send money with him to cover his salary, and then you could open a couple of $1 million, bring in a full-time minimum player. They could wind up doing something like that. I know you might shake your head again about Tristan Thompson, but he would have gotten that rebound that Royce O'Neal got. He would at least give you a big body. He gives you something that you need right now. And again, you know what the perfect answer here is, Big O? If Omar Yurtseven was available, it would be the same as last January, but he's not. He only started walking in the past week or so. He's wearing a brace that still goes, a temporary brace that goes from his foot to his knee. So he's not running on the court anytime soon. And that's just a shame. Jovic would be nice to have around. He's out a month with the back spasms. Udonis Haslem of 10 years ago would be good to have around. He's not the same player. Eric Spoelstra really is playing with a short deck. He really is.
Now, you do realize that if you sign Tristan, the Kardashians come with it, right? I mean, that's kind of, so you're going to have to interview Chloe every once in a while or something.
And you know what? Full cycle, because we already had Lamar Odom and we had Courtney, so we're just going to go full cycle with the Kardashians. Maybe it's just destiny, Big O.
Okay. All right. I just kind of get the feeling you just want the Kardashians in the house or something. I don't know.
I need more intrigue clearly in my Heat coverage life.
All right. So what is the light at the end of the tunnel right now? Because I'm almost wondering, what is this team?
I think the light at the end of the tunnel is what's growing. Think about this.
It's development. Okay.
Okay, we've seen Bam Adebayo, like you mentioned. You've mentioned all season. You've been very fair with Bam for all your criticism before, that he's really emerging into something very special on both ends of the court. He's a son of a bitch in that lane that they need around the dotted area. He's growing. Yeah. I think you and I both had doubts of Tyler Hero as starter, that he might not have enough there. But his offensive game is so special, it almost compensates for his defensive game. You'd agree, Tyler, between last year's Sixth-Man Award and this year is going in the nice direction, okay?
Yes.
Number three, and we both mentioned this, we both had our doubts. Victor Oladipo is a real player. Victor Oladipo is a thing.
I need to see it for a couple of weeks.
That's fine.
I need, you know what? Like, remember what I've been mentioning to you so far, right? I've been mentioning to you the 30 minutes. That's what I've constantly been mentioning to you, because first of all, I need to see if his body holds up. So when his body holds up, then we can then find out, okay, how much magic can Victor Oladipo recapture right now?
Right.
And boy, the other night was a lot of fun.
And you know what? The first thing you said to me when we started this season, Ira, I need to see it in more than one game. Well, he did it in Phoenix. He did it again last night. Next thing you said to me is, Ira, I need to see it for at least a week. We saw it on the West Coast trip. Now you might be saying, Ira, I need to see it for the rest of the month. And it's going to be very interesting, Big O. I'm going to throw this at you, and I'll throw it.
We're good. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to throw it to Kurt Heelan on redrecover.com Inside the Paint on Wednesday. So Vic is playing well now. Very well. Both ends of the court. Vic is continuing and showing that he has that in his legs. So, Big O, there's 2 deadlines coming up. On January 15th, Victor Oladipo becomes trade eligible for the first time this season. Then you have the February 9th trading deadline. Here's my question to you, and I want you to think this over. We'll talk about it Friday on our Pembroke Pines Acura Pembroke Pines report also, is this. Where is Victor Oladipo now more valuable? As a member of your roster or as a trade asset? And that's interesting, and I'm going to say why before you chime in here. As someone on your roster, he clearly is valuable. He's a terrific 6th man. But what if I can trade him for a power forward that you desperately need? would that sway you a little? So I think Vic has us thinking in both directions. As a keeper, someone who's going to help this year's team, or maybe finally, when you and I talk and you always go to me, Ira, what the hell did they have to trade? Maybe you do have something to trade now.
Okay, you're right. You could do that, but then you lose your fire off the bench. And so we've been talking about that. We've been talking about the whole Tyler thing. Oh, well, why don't we Ginobili his ass and move him to the bench? And yet Tyler is like, F you guys, you're not Ginobiling me. Watch, I'm going to do more. It's like, okay, you got to keep me here. Okay, so now we've been waiting for Oladipo. So now Oladipo might be showing up now to give you that juice off the bench.
Right.
Why do I have to trade that? Because I'm almost like it's addition by subtraction.
But you don't have a power forward. So which is going to take you further this year, number one. And number two, if you then get a power forward, a starting level power forward, okay?
Ooh, that's the other thing.
I don't think Victor Oladipo is enough for John Collins because Atlanta has too many guards. So you're going to have to go multi-direction. I think Harrison Barnes, the way he's playing now in Sacramento, I don't think they're making a trade. I would love Lowry Markkanen, but I know that's not happening also. Kelly Olynyk might be. Here's my point to you about here's my point about the big picture. Because I'm not going to go through every NBA power forward, but I want to say this. If you trade Victor Oladipo for a starting power forward, you're then getting the spark of Caleb Martin back on your bench. So there is a rolling factor there. I'm not saying he's a sixth man like Vic, but you remember last year, Caleb Martin is a sixth man, hitting threes, energizing defender.
Yeah, I love
He can do that also. So I think the Heat have things to think about right now. So God bless Vic for what he's done. You know what? He told us for weeks and for months, I'm going to get back. And people like Orlando Alzugaray and Ira Winderman had their doubts. He's looked very good. He's contributed, and God bless him, as much as we might have questioned his approach on the time off, it seems to be paying off right now.
Okay, they do have a first rounder.
Correct.
Can I keep my Oladipo and use my first rounder to go trade for a disgruntled power forward that isn't getting enough playing time? Is there some name out there that that the team has a surplus?
Well, even I mentioned Kelly, who played very well with Bam Adebayo. Remember, when they went to the NBA Finals that year, they were a really good combination. You'd have to throw a salary in there. So here's the other part of the equation. I know there's been this call out there, and I'm finding it hard to disagree about, you got to move off Kyle Lowry. He just hasn't been the guy. He's your tradable salary, not Tyler's, someone else's.
Not till next year. No,
well, okay. And that's my question to you, Orlando Alzugaray. Let's say we move Kyle Lowry out of the Heat equation for whatever reason. Just humor me with this, okay? If you're listening on the podcast, Big O's raising his hands in the championship cheer. Yes. But how would you play point guard then?
I got to go with Gabe. I have no choice. I got to go Gabe, Tyler, Jimmy.
So and that's fine. And then if you have Gabe starting, who's your point guard off the bench?
Well, Depot can do a little bit of that.
And that's fine. And that's fine if you think you can get it that way.
I can keep Tyler in there a little bit with him too.
And Jimmy handles. Bam is healthy, he handles. So what I'm saying is every move has a secondary impact you have to think of. So for all these people, trade Kyle's ass. Okay, but just give me a plan, people, of how you want to go from point A to point B and C the same. Same thing with power forward. Same thing with Victor Oladipo. Maybe you can just move Dwayne Dedmon and money for someone else, and then someone will immediately cut Dwayne Dedmon. You know what? When we talk about the Heat's real disappointments of the season, I don't think Kyle's in that level. I think we wanted more from Kyle, but I wouldn't put him at the level where he's failed the Heat with his play because he's had some moments. I think Dwayne Dedmon has. I think Dedmon's a little
further. Ira, it's $30 million you're paying that guy,
and he still gives you top 20 point guard moments. I'm not saying that's what you're paying for at that price point, but I'm saying that's what you're getting.
Yeah, I need a horse. If I'm paying you $30 million, I need you to be a horse. You got to be Bam. You got to be Tyler. You got to be Jimmy. Those are your horses right now.
And you knew that when you signed a guy at 36. You knew what you were getting. You thought happy Jimmy Butler, happy life. Isn't that a saying somewhere? I think that's what they were thinking.
Yeah. All right. What do you got going on in the Sun Sentinel? The boys will take on OKC tomorrow.
First of all, I brought my Ask Ira about, is there a backup plan behind Bam? I don't think there is. We'll find out later today how long he's out. Wrote a story about the Heat at midseason and how there's still this optimism. And the one thing I'll give the Heat credit, They keep saying they're going to find a way. They point to the Nets. Some guys have pointed to the Celtics last season. Hey, give us the second half of the season. And this team historically has been much better over second half of the seasons. Big O, you were with us during the 11-30 start, the 30-11 finish. Give Eric Spoelstra credit. When he figures it all out, the mad scientist, in his beautiful mind kind of way, there are better second halves. I wrote about that. I am very curious when the NBA last 2-minute report comes out this afternoon. Was Jimmy Butler fouled? We'll be looking into that. And then at about 5:30, we're going to see the injury report. I think Bam is definitely out tomorrow, but it would not shock me for the Heat to list him as doubtful and then maybe move him to out tomorrow amid the hope of maybe 24 hours makes that hand better. So we'll see. So there's a lot still coming later in the day. So I think it's going to be an interesting day for the Heat as everyone else looks to Dolphins land.
Yeah, and Bam's a tough sumbitch too.
Yes,
That's
so we will see.
He has a high threshold for pain, and he's proven that many times already in the past, playing injured. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. More importantly, please subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel and support Ira and all the fantastic writers there. He'll be back on Wednesday from 9 to 10 with our redrecover.com Inside the Paint show, where, by the way, you can get 50% off right now. Take advantage at redrecover.com. Ira, as always, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Join you on Wednesday for the Inside the Oladipo Hour. Thank you, Big O.
You got it. There you go. Ira Winderman and our Acura Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, and NBA report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.